Well, here we are, and away we go. Welcome to Tarnation TV production. And of course, commentary, as always, provided by the Flatout Racing Network. Welcome back to the Talladega Challenge here at Rolling Thunder Gaming. It's December now, December 4th. Like I said, it was a week off last week, so welcome back, everybody. We'll cut right to it. We got a full house here again this evening. Right now, the drivers are in happy hour. My name is Blaine Donlan, of course, joined by the Flatout Racing Network crew, Mr. Matthews and Mr. Cole.
And indeed, it is a interesting one here tonight. As you mentioned, Blaine, we're coming off an off week. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We ended up having multiple series take the off week for the entire Thanksgiving week, but right in the heart of the playoffs. This is the second and final elimination race here for Season 66 of the Talladega Challenge Series. At the close of this race, we will know at least 4 drivers. I'm leaving little wiggle room because we had a final 5 last season, but at least 4 drivers are going to make their way into the championship battle, and nobody is safe. 2 weeks ago, we saw a non-playoff driver in Richard Martin go to victory lane, so nobody is locked into that championship battle in the upcoming 2 weeks. We also have a notable driver that is not in the field here tonight. I'll explain why in just a moment, but also consider this, Kyle. Cut line driver, Denny Carroll. The driver 8th in the standings, Brian Schilling, only 7 points back. A 7-point blanket, 5 drivers for the cut line. And we haven't even taken the green flag tonight yet.
Oh, I'm telling you, like, you needed any more pressure for a cutoff race right here where, like you said, nobody is safe. I mean, we're talking about just single-digit points separating everybody here. So it is going to be a very stressful night for these guys heading forward.
It's going to be a stressful night, not only for drivers that are on track, but for one driver that we will not see on the track here tonight. We saw him finish runner-up 2 weeks ago in the first race of this round of 8. I'm talking about Grant Wesley. Subsequently comes into tonight the points leader of the 8 playoff drivers, 28 points to the good. But he's currently at the Gateway Dirt Nationals. He is not in the field here tonight, and finishing second last week means he is relying on points to get into the Final Four. With a full field tonight and only a 28-point buffer, the big question is going to be, was the runner-up finish in the first race of this round, was that enough points for him to be able to advance? Now, I do believe he is eligible for a provisional tonight, so he will get provisional points, but with not having wheels to pavement, he's basically relying on his fate being determined by the others here tonight.
Man, this kind of reminds me of a couple of seasons back. We saw Josh Metallic basically gave himself a must-win for one race because he was going on vacation the previous week, wasn't going to be there for the race. He went out and won the race, secured him a spot in the championship for Grant Wesley. Man, he could be looking back on the last race, finishing second, wishing he would have won that race. For his sake, I hope he doesn't feel like that, but it very well could, as tight as the points are tonight. So we will see how this plays out.
Pressure is definitely on some drivers here tonight that with some decent runs, they don't have to go out and win. They don't even really have to go out and finish top 5, but if they at least finish, I would say, in the top half of the field, have a very good chance, enough of a cushion between themselves and 4th in the standings to be able to advance. I'm talking about some former champs in Chuck McClure and Joe DeSpirito. Chuck is 18 points to the good. Joe DeSpirito is 12 points to the good. They just got to keep themselves in the same zip code, if you will, as Denny Carroll, Josh Metallic, John Godfrey, Rodney Sullivans, and Brian Schilling. And mentioned here tonight about nobody being safe, everybody right now relying on points. With the fact that we had the first 2 playoff races won by playoff drivers, Rodney Sullivans and Grant Wesley, the last race won by a non-playoff driver, do you think that that's changed the mentality here of these 7 playoff drivers here tonight, in the fact that they're outnumbered? The odds are not in favor of a playoff driver winning tonight as opposed to a non-playoff driver, so points are going to be more important maybe than the checkered flag itself.
I mean, seeing how close the points are heading into tonight, I think everything is in the back of their head right now. I mean, just seeing that they are outnumbered, the odds are not in their favor of winning tonight. even more so on a super speedway than usual. So yeah, I'm sure they're thinking about it, but I'm sure they're putting together their best plan to see if they can any of them can pull this off.
It's interesting. After the race 2 weeks ago, can't remember which driver it was I asked, but I asked the question of, with this off week, is it going to have everybody be coming back here a little bit refreshed, a little calmed down? Or is it going to maybe have everybody itching to go as soon as that green flag drops, the adrenaline spikes, and we may see some pretty aggressive, calamitous type racing here in the early going of tonight's event? They said maybe more the latter than the former, so it will be interesting to see, specifically with those 7 playoff drivers, if they feel being up at the front is safe, or do they maybe want to migrate to the back, wait and see how everything settles out. It's big picture racing tonight for those drivers, and then for everybody else, hey, you got a chance to end out the season with a checkered flag before we end up turning the final lap of season 66. So you got to think they're going to have the nothing to lose mentality here tonight, much like we saw with the fuel strategy race and that call by DMAR a couple of weeks ago.
I think hanging on in the back might be a pretty smart move here early on. Just like you mentioned, everybody might be even more itching to get going this week after an off week.
Happy hour is getting ready to conclude here. The number of drivers practicing those green flag pit stops we have seen towards the latter half of the regular season and firmly here in the playoffs. Execution on pit road has played just as much, if not more so, of a factor into who's going to be in the conversation for the win at the end of the race, as everything that takes place up on the high banks above that yellow line on the racetrack itself. Will be interesting to see if pit road is going to play a part here into determining who our final 4 drivers will be. I mentioned about last season, we ended up having a tie for 4th in the standings in that final elimination race. So we ended up having not a final 4, but a final 5 competing for the championship. Do not think that with the points as close as they are, that we may not have that similar type of a scenario once the checkered flag waves here this evening.
And keep an eye on anytime we have a caution tonight, if we do. I mean, you never know. This race could go green the entire way, but if we do have cautions, keep an eye on who stays out under those cautions to get a bonus point. Those are going to be critical tonight. Getting up front, leading a lap, getting as many points as you can.
Absolutely. Well, drivers are getting ready to grid up here. 37 drivers strong to take the green flag here tonight. 3rd to last race of the season, last race of the round of 8, and Robert Spring draws the long straw. He'll capture the pole position here tonight. You'll see a gap there. That is my car. Supposed to be
great
rolled off of the
run.
I know, man. I'll tell you what, they put a heck of an engine in this car here tonight. They couldn't even register the speed. That's the same for everybody else because it's random qualifying. But Robert Spring will have the front row to himself until Brian Schilling pulls up alongside. Bernie Mobbs and Brian Schilling, they're going to be row 2 here based off the starting lineup. John Godfrey, Greg Lovell, row 3. Row 4, RJ Cabana, Robert Breedlove, with Greg Palmer and Josh Metallic going to be your top 10. So 3 playoff drivers will start inside the top 10. Schilling, Godfrey, and Metallic. We'll see how that good starting track position works out for them. Jeremy Jeffries, he's going to be back in row 6 alongside of Tim Nofsker. Dennis McCarthy, Joe DeSpirito, row 7. Row 8 finds Keith Bynum, Glenn Harris. You'll see Sandoval, Jeff Crivello in row 9. Your top 20 will be completed with Mark Paglia and Brian Lovell. Chuck McClure deep in the field here tonight as he'll start in the 21st position. Bob Seminara alongside of him in 22nd. 23rd finds Donnie Garrett. 24th, Don Pantaleo. Go back to row 13 to find Denny Carroll and Cy Jones. Row 14, Jeffrey Elliott, Richard Martin. Your top 30 completed with Bobby Farrell and Rodney Sullins deep in the field there for that playoff contender. Terry Bombard's back in row 16 with Kelly Causey. Row 17, Doug Kulik, Mike Mangialardi. David Little is behind the wheel of the 25 here tonight. That is a Doug Maluski car, but David Little doing the driving duties this evening. He's back in row 18 with Billy Elliser. And row 19, completion of your field tonight will be Brian Rawson, Pat Makarski. I believe we had a mechanical failure here rolling off the grid, so we do get one grid reset, I should say here. So they'll all grid up again. and roll off behind the pace car once more. So that's our one mulligan on the night for mechanical failures.
Boy, using it under the pace lap too, so that's hopefully there aren't any more problems early on in the race. I find it very fitting though, Robert Spring having that Ohio State paint scheme.
You got to do a little
starting
bragging.
starting in the number one spot, just like in the college football rankings, the Ohio State University at number
Should
one.
I get on track and we pretend that I'm running an Indiana car? Should that be a thing?
Well,
You almost said that there, Kyle, like you had a little teacup in one hand and you were like, oh my, would you look who's on the front row, sir?
There's no bias behind that statement either.
Absolutely not.
No,
just an observation I made,
Well, as these drivers head out behind that David Cannon tribute pace car, I want to take the opportunity here while we have it on a personal note to send out condolences, thoughts, prayers to broadcast colleague of ours, Joe Towanski over at Johto Network, JTN. Had the very sad news this late afternoon that Bristol, his golden retriever, who many of you tuned into his broadcast knew was always there over his shoulder as he was broadcasting races, passed away. Bristol was a big part of JTN's broadcasting, the designated producer, of course, featured as well on the replay screen of the JTN broadcast.
Right?
And yes, indeed.
Oh man,
so
that sucks.
Really, really tough news to hear. Send our well wishes to Joe at this difficult time. And
I second that.
I don't care what anybody says. Pets are people too.
I agree.
Yeah,
I've been through that too many times in my life, and it's never easy.
No, we had a guy today at work. He took the day off to take his dog to the vet because he's got an old dog, and had the dog since it was a puppy, like from the breeder. And today he took the day off work today to take the dog to the vet, and the dog passed away in the car on the way to the vet.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm like, oh man. So he's calling. I guarantee he's calling in sick tomorrow. If he's there tomorrow, I'd be surprised. He's gonna be a mess.
Yeah. If you've ever had a pet, everybody knows what Joe's going through right now. So
yeah, we don't deserve the pets.
No,
they
absolutely not.
Yeah, they don't live long enough.
The animals are just as much of family as the humans are, if you ask me.
Absolutely. So want to send Joe well wishes. He's going through this difficult time, and it's time to go racing.
Sorry to hear it, Joe.
Absolutely. Green flag is in the air. Whoa! Very slow start there by Robert Spring. Might have missed a shift from the pole position. That stacks him up 3 wide already going into turn 1. Brian Schillen says, thank you very much. He goes to lead. Jeffries on the apron.
It's a great save by Jeffries. He's going to lose a lot of track position, but boy, that could have been a lot worse in that situation.
Wow.
It looked like Robert Spring was still he was in second gear for quite a while there. So yeah, I think he did miss a shift. Looks like Jeffries may have gotten a little bit of contact there from Tim Nofsker.
Yeah, they were all stacking up. I think that was Greg Palmer that Jeffries was behind, and I believe we're slowing. Yeah, the caution is out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there was an incident that brought the yellow out or if that was potentially admin thrown. Nope, we did have a car around. It was the 71 of Dan Pantaleo. And I think a lot of this was in relation to what happened up ahead with Jeremy Jeffries. Yeah, Seminara lifts. Cy Jones is into the back of Pantaleo, spins him around.
I don't think anybody got any damage in that, though. We saw Jeremy Jeffries make a nice save on the apron, and we saw the 71 go around. He didn't hit anything, so very chaotic first lap here, but no damaged cars.
That save by Jeremy Jeffries kind of reminded me, I don't remember what year it was, but it was a Daytona race. Kyle Busch got turned down on the apron and somehow was able to kind of drift on the apron, got the thing righted, and was able to continue on.
2012 Bud Shootout, I believe you're thinking of.
I think you're right.
He did that twice, and he came back and won the race.
Yeah, and doing that at 150 miles an hour is not easy.
No, not at all. this caution kind of in a sense saved Robert Spring, who we saw have an issue on the initial start. With that caution coming out, he drifted back to 6th, and with the frozen field is currently in that position. Brian Schilling and Greg Lovell, they were able to get around him on the outside line. Schilling with a very valuable lap ahead already, one of our championship 8. He is 8th of those championship drivers coming into tonight. So if any driver that has a sense of urgency to get every point possible, it would be the driver of that Ernie Irvan throwback.
Well, he gets a bonus point right off the bat here, so check that off the list.
Got Milt Surratt in our chat, says that he's picking the field tonight. He's not even picking a specific driver. He's picking the field tonight. And
Smart move.
We also have Tyler in our chat here, and he said it was 2008 that Kyle Busch ended up doing the drift and win.
2008? Maybe at Talladega, maybe? I know.
Oh, maybe it was Dega there. Yeah.
I know he did it at Daytona in either the shootout or the unlimited, whatever it was called back in 2012.
But one thing with this early caution, as you mentioned, really nobody getting damaged in anything that we saw that brought this yellow out, and maybe a blessing in disguise. Because mentioned, these drivers had an entire week off of the Thanksgiving week. They're here, ready, raring to go. As soon as that green flag dropped, they were pedaled to the floor. And now with the caution coming out, an opportunity to maybe just calm down a little bit here and settle into a run when we end up getting the green flag. Get those early race jitters out.
Just a reminder, too, the simulcast is what we do here. Tarnation TV's channel and Flatout channel. Both look exactly the same. And, of course, the sponsors for Season 66, Redline, Performance, Motorsports, and Rodney Sullivan's Paints. Thanks, y'all. That's pretty awesome. Got to thank the sponsors. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it'd be tough to do this. And, of course, the viewers and the drivers. And the track builders and everybody else. We got a new driver on track today. Did you get that message from Mr. Sullins?
I did. Yeah,
the
we see that number
25 is still
25
out here.
there.
But
that's a car that actually is driven by Dave Maluski. I'm not exactly certain if there's been a name change on the banner, if his name is actually still featured on the car, but that is David Little, who is behind the wheel of that Hardee's machine here tonight.
Yeah, it does say Maluski on the banner, but yeah, different driver tonight.
Looks like a Cale Yarborough throwback.
Thought it was.
There.
Okay.
Very nice.
Okay, so at least in my head I was correct in who I thought the throwback was of. We've seen drivers. I don't know if this is necessarily a debut for David Little. It is, at least for the season, a debut for him, his first start here in Season 66, but we have seen drivers perform well in their first starts of seasons. I remember back to, oh gracious, I think it's about 5, 6, 7 seasons now back when they were running the NCTS 09 mod. Keith Hughes ended up winning a couple of races in his rookie season here in the Talladega Challenge Series. So,
wow,
keep an eye on that Cale Yarborough throwback. We may see him up here before this race is over.
Not an easy feat to pull off a win here.
No.
Especially in one of your first few races. I mean, that is extremely impressive. We saw a number of drivers on pit road under this caution coming down there just try to get any advantage they can on fuel. Like, we saw in the last race, it came down to fuel mileage, so... The
Pretty split down the middle here, too. I think from 20th on back, we're on pit road. Top 19 stayed out, so it's pretty 50-50.
Yeah, 0 pit stops for the first 19 positions.
We always talk about how they always have the battle within the battle, whether it's on Thursday nights, same in the Bare Bones Racing Series on Monday nights, the Aero 88 Series on Wednesday nights. They have the bracket challenge here for Thursday nights, and we are winding down to the finals of that tonight. Brian Rawson, Donnie Garrett. They fight to see who is going to take on Denny Carroll in the finals. that may conclude next week, may roll over into the season finale. We'll have to wait and see, but it's 77 versus 6 here tonight to see who's going to fill that final slot in the finals for the bracket challenge.
Go back to green here on lap number 5. Looks like that outside line got him a lot more organized right there. Brian Schilling, well, I was about to say, he's probably feeling like a pretty lonely man, but he's able to move up to the outside and get that push, leaving Breedlove to lead that bottom line.
Like they're all going to make it out of turn 2 without incident, down the back straightaway. Top 4 potentially clear of that inside line as now Robert Breedlove gets to the left rear quarter panel of pole sitter Robert Spring. Mentioned about only 3 of the playoff drivers qualified via the random qualifying drop inside of the top 10, all still holding positions in the top 10 spots, showing the leader. Metallic right now in 7th. And John Godfrey, last time by, was scored in 5th. I think he's drifted back now unofficially to the 7th or 8th spot, side by side right now, actually, with that McLaren throwback of Josh Metallic.
Greg Palmer now jumping out in front of Robert Breedlove right there to lead that inside line. See if they can make up any ground down there. Outside line appears to have more cars right now.
He looked just up a little kitty corner from Greg Palmer. Actually, now right alongside of him here is that Coors Light number 41 of Denny Carroll. You mentioned, Kyle, about maybe in the early going of this race, if you're one of those playoff contenders, drifting to the back, riding, letting everything settle out. That's actually been a strategy, it seems, the last couple of races for Denny Carroll. Kind of flipping the playbook here, though. A little bit more aggressive here tonight, trying to get and keep track position as he's made his way up into the top 10. So mixing up a little bit. I guess the circumstances are different when you come into an elimination race on the cut line, the 4th driver in the standings.
I think a lot of that has to do with what's everybody else doing? Like, how are they racing? If it's extremely aggressive early on, then a lot of times you'll see a driver drop back and just try to, stay out of potential trouble. Other times, if it seems a lot calmer than you would expect, then a lot of times, you'll feel more comfortable running up toward the front. So it just really depends on what everybody else is doing, it looks like. Now Josh Metallic going to lead that inside line there. It's got Donnie Garrett right behind him, along with Denny Carroll and Greg Palmer and others. And now that Carroll moves back up to that middle line.
I was going to say, as more and more drivers were dropping down there, they were making some good forward progress. See if they can keep charging forward, as right now the side-by-side battle would be for 5th. Metallic on the inside of Mark Paglia, as Brian Schilling continues to show the way. Mentioned about the bonus point that's paid out for leading a lap. There's also an extra bonus point paid out to the driver that leads the most laps. So you have to think for driver number 4, he'd like to spend most of his time in this race out in that clean air with nothing out the windshield. So far has led 8 of the completed laps.
That was probably the game plan for him, especially when he saw that he would line up on the outside of the front row once this race started. So taking full advantage of that good qualifying draw.
That's one of the interesting things too, right? Especially during the playoffs, is that you don't get to determine where you start in the race. You could potentially have a game plan coming into a race like this, and then as soon as you see where you're rolling off the grid, the game plan completely changes. Mentioned a number of playoff drivers that were going to be starting towards the back, including a driver that won here in the playoffs, won the first playoff race in Rodney Sullins. He started very deep in the field, slowly starting to work his way forward, as I believe he's now just cracked the top 20. But yeah, I mean, just dependent on where the qualifying guys determined to place you, that can play a lot into what your strategy is going to be as soon as the green flag flies.
That's why if I was in this series, or any series that just did random qualifying, I really wouldn't try to come up with a strategy until I saw where I was starting.
They're trying to go 3 wide back there. Jeffrey Elliott's up on that top line, I believe. The aforementioned Rodney Sullins is right behind him. Jeremy Jeffries, who we saw had that great save back on lap 1. Split the Dennis McCarthy machine 3 wide, and now making more forward progress there as Jeffrey Elliott gets up alongside of RJ Cabana. Now alongside of Robert Breedlove. That right there from the tri-oval to turn 1, I think that third line might have been running about 5 miles per hour faster than the other 2 lines on the inside.
Definitely are making a lot of progress right there. Denny Carroll now leading it, being pushed by Jeffrey Elliott. Not a lot of space in between the 41 and the 56. That's how much he's getting the push. And that's working out for him pretty well.
And you may have caught that 38 of Rodney Sullins in a little squirrely there out down the back straightaway. Cars are going in a straight line at that point. That just shows what kind of a shove he may have gotten from Jeremy Jeffries. A lot of chain pushing, chain bumping going on here as they straight line backstretch.
Now the 41 and the 56 have been forced down to the middle line, and now Rodney Sullins is going to lead that outside line. Got the 1, the 29, the 96 all behind him. Oh boy, almost got together with Jeffrey Elliott right there.
Drivers up ahead noticing these moves and trying to figure out if they want to migrate from the bottom up to that middle line. I saw both Josh Metallic and Donnie Garrett test the waters in that middle lane, thinking that there was some momentum coming, but with now Elliott and Sandoval stuck in that middle groove and seeming to be stalled out, they made their way back down to the inside line. And it kind of interesting here because it looked like Brian Schilling was, in a sense, the Pied Piper. He moved down to the inside line. Everybody else followed suit. They were running that middle line for a majority of this. And why I find this interesting is normally we don't see drivers migrate down to the inside of the racetrack until we're about 3 or so laps away from pit stops. We still got a ways to go, about another 6.5 laps before they're going to have to start thinking about making the dive. So interesting that they decide to move to the inside line this early into the run.
It's about half the field there that's on that fuel run right there we mentioned. I believe we said 20th on back came down pit road during that first caution. So they can go a few more laps, probably not a whole lot more though.
Bit of a heart-stopping moment for the field. Jeffrey Elliott was leading that middle line. I saw him disappear. And it looks like he has reappeared at the tail end of the field. So fortunate there that he didn't reappear in the middle of the pack, but he's certainly going to be losing the draft here and hoping for a caution to be able to catch back up.
I think on that turn the last lap or the lap before that, I believe it was a 6 car that disappeared for a split second, but it's back out there with no problem. So I don't know if there's something going on with the server or what.
I do know Brian has had some connection problems the last month or so. So that might have been something on his end. And of course, as well, you certainly don't want to have connection gremlins here tonight. As we mentioned, he's definitely got something to race for. Trying to get up here to Donnie Garrett, see who amongst those two is going to be the winner of the loser's side of the bracket challenge to face off against Denny Carroll in the finals next week. So just to quickly explain for people, I said that we may end up having 2 weeks in battling for the finals. That is giving the advantage to the driver that wins the winner's side of the bracket during the course of the regular season, which in this case would be the 41. If Donnie Garrett or Brian Rawson next week are able to defeat Denny Carroll in finishing position, it will go to another matchup in the season finale. But if next week Denny Carroll is able to defeat either one of the 2 opponents, then he would right then and there be declared the season 66 bracket challenge champion.
Well, speaking of Josh Metallic, he's leading that outside line now.
And right behind him is John Godfrey, who, remember, back when we went off the air at the conclusion of the first elimination race, setting the Elite 8, we mathematically had John Godfrey eliminated from competing for the championship, but a couple of EOL penalties for Greg Palmer and Ulysses Sandoval moved the cut line down, and Godfrey found himself above the line as we've got a wreck off of 4.
Somebody flipping right there looked like one of the 88 cars, the red and white one, I believe.
RJ Cabana. It's like Tim Knopfsker, Glenn Harris, Terry Bombard involved. Saw a black or a gray car, maybe Knopfsker, the first one around on the inside line off the exit of turn 4. Kind of slid up the racetrack and created a blockade. I'm honestly surprised as I pan through here that I don't see more drivers back in the vicinity of the wreck, especially with where that wreck was positioned. You'd expect to have a lot more
First
drivers
car I saw
involved.
go around was a blue car. I believe it was it Bombard, maybe?
Could very well have been. See if we can pinpoint where this wreck occurred. It's like a little check. Doug Hewlick in the 23 might have been the car that I saw go around. He gets the contact from the car you were identifying there, Terry Bombard in the 10. Nowhere for Glenn Harris to go. Pekarski gets squeezed up into the outside wall. Dave Little slips his way right in between those two Dale Jr. machines.
Yeah, it was Cabana that was briefly upside down there.
Dan Pantaleo was also involved, and also Billy Elliser. Man, I'll tell you what, Jeff Crivello, great avoidance on multiple sides of his 36. He almost made contact with the front end and then almost had a car up into his left rear quarter panel. I believe Cy Jones was also involved, and this was the caution that Jeffrey Elliott needed to be able to catch back up to the pack.
Just following along with the aid of Glenn Harris there on the... Watched him spin around a little bit, going in now for some fresh tires. That's all that really happened to that car, I think. Cooking some tires.
Looks like he got the wall a little bit, but I don't think he got too much damage in that.
It's been kind of a new thing here this season. Obviously a brand new racetrack here with this new version of Talladega. I don't remember as often seeing drivers have that kind of a checkup off the exit of turn 4. I don't know if it's the track, maybe a difference in the setup, but it certainly looks like drivers are getting more of an opportunity to generate a run through the center of 3 and 4 and carry that momentum from 4 into the front straightaway tri-oval. And it's been leading to more checkups off of turn 4. We've seen a couple of incidents here this season with checkups off of turn 4, which normally has not really been a trouble spot in the past. So kind of interesting there that we see the evolution, if you will, of this racing package. And not exactly sure if we can put our finger on exactly what change it is that has brought this about, but you kind of think about that in retrospect as well. You know, big opportunity when we end up having these races in the closing stages, drivers trying to make moves for the race win off of turn 4. If you're able to generate enough of a run that we have that type of checkup through the center of the corner, that means that the driver that's leading off of turn 4 better be very well prepared to block multiple lanes when coming around to receive the checkered flag.
Have to do even more mirror driving than usual, it sounds like.
See, and I believe we have confirmed with John Godfrey, who created this version of Talladega, making the pit road a little bit wider. That was the only change that he made. The core track has remained the same, I believe. So like you're saying, it might have something to do with the setup.
Could also be something to do with the mod as well. Mod hitbox maybe a little slightly different.
Now,
like I said, there's a lot of different variables that it could be.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder has voted for Season 67 to switch mods. Are they going with the Monster Energy 2019
Yes,
mod?
they are.
Seems to be a very popular one, yeah. Do they also vote on the qualifying too, right? Because like you mentioned before, we do lottery qualifying, which they just skip right to the grid, and then the game just kind of throws everybody where it decides to throw them. Do you know if they've opted to go back to actual qualifying session?
So, as far as I'm aware, I don't know if that is something that the drivers can vote on or if that is an administrative decision. I have not heard anything of them going back to live qualifying for next season. I'll try and see if I can get that information for next week.
Cool. Jeffrey Elliott in first now. Like you said, he needed that yellow. It looks like it worked.
Definitely worked. I'm trying to figure out exactly how he gained that track position. I don't think he pit under this caution. He pit under the first yellow.
He must
but
not
scoring
have.
is showing him only been to pit road that one time. So I think that he stayed out here to gain the track position he lost after the connection issue during that green flag run.
Now that's a big gap in pit stops for him.
I mean, we're talking, we went back green, I think it was on lap 6, so we're talking only about maybe 5 laps from now. He's going to have to come to pit road, and he'll be more than likely coming down by his lonesome.
It's a good gamble, though. I mean, you could get stuck in another yellow, so then if everybody decides to go, then you're right back there with them.
You also mentioned, Kyle, about the gamesmanship here of playoff drivers trying to snipe a bonus point for a lap led during that cycle of pit stops. Chuck McClure stayed out, led a lap, so a bonus point for the driver that comes into this race second in the playoff standings.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Him and there are a few others pitted, looked like came back down to top off when they got the one to go.
We got a couple up and over. Keith Bynum in the 63 is one of them. Cy Jones, Jeff Cravello were in the middle of that.
Well, that's that caution.
Yes,
indeed. Was looking for.
David Little in the 25 was also collected up. Like maybe somebody.
The checkup.
Yeah, I wondered if maybe somebody had an issue shifting from second to third gear, but major stack up on that top line. Bynum almost into the back of Glenn Harris, and as he lifts, Brian Lovell's into the back of him. Oh, and the problem there for Keith Bynum, he didn't even get hit upside down. Looked like he may have grip flipped there.
Saw the 6 of Rawson get a piece of that as well. It's the one that got the 63, actually.
Cy Jones came down into Cravello. David Little with a little bit of contact as well, and a driver that was right behind that, hard on the brakes, was the driver we were just talking about that led a lap there under that pacing, 17 of Chuck McClure. He's probably going to have to come down pit road for some fresh front tire. I think he used all the good out of those Goodyears.
He used all the good.
Now they're just years.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, Jeffrey Elliott will certainly be coming down pit road, but what about some of these other guys? I mean, we just went green, had the caution come out. Is it worth giving up the track position to top off the fuel tank a little bit more, just in case we go into a long green flag run, or is the track position more important?
Now we got a few takers. It looks like Josh Metallic coming down pit road. Jeffrey Elliott stays out.
Fourth place?
Here we have Ulysses Sandoval pitting and a couple of others behind him.
Jeffrey might hold on until the final pace, or the final caution flag maybe, or the final caution lap maybe. Try to get a little bit more distance out of that tank before. Because if you pit when the lights are going out, then at least you gain a little bit of distance anyway.
Could be a good call too. I'd have to do the math, but if he ends up staying out, heading at the 1 to green, might put him in the vicinity of being able to make it, if not on one stop, taking on a little bit less fuel than most everybody else on a final pit stop. Like everybody involved in the wreck, they've taken service, gotten damage repaired, and continued on.
Ulysses going through the grass right there, but
I'm wondering if he might have been hit with a speeding penalty. Looks like he's down on the apron, which would be indicative of letting other drivers by him. Interesting play there from Josh Metallic, giving up what would have been a top 5 restarting spot. I think he was 4th at the time. He's in a precarious spot in the points.
He's clutching, I think. I don't know if he's out of fuel, maybe? Or he's just waiting for the end of the longest line. He's just hard saving
as he's waiting for drivers to go by.
Yeah. It was quiet there for a really long time. He's back on the throttle now.
One thing about super speedway drivers, they will clutch even when they don't have to.
Yeah.
You could be 20 laps to the good on fuel. They still would clutch under pacing.
And he was down at the wall on the inside, taking the extreme short way around this track. You know, all the little stuff, it builds up. It counts at the end. The David Cannon pace car. There goes Jeffrey Elliott there. To the pits.
I believe that's Jeremy Jeffries right behind him.
Jeremy Jeffries, the outgoing champion, if you will, won the title last season, but was eliminated during the round of 12. Came up just short in that 3-wide battle in the elimination race, that 3-wide photo finish of advancing into the round of 8 to go for back-to-back championships.
Outstanding finish that was.
And the thing about it for me, too, is you hate to see drivers get eliminated from the playoffs, but in my opinion, that just makes them more dangerous.
Oh,
because then it's tunnel vision. You don't have to worry about points. You don't have to worry about a playoff spot. You don't have to worry about where the other drivers are. All you got to worry about is where you are and what you need to do to get yourself up there to the front to have your nose be the first one to that start-finish line when the checkered flag is waving. It in a sense, you would love to have the pressure of a championship, but you also like the freedom of being able to be a little bit more aggressive with not any point circumstances, if you will.
Yeah, being able to know that, you can make a move for the win and not have to worry about, points. A lot of these guys in contention for the championship, they get up here near the front. It's like, well, what do I do? Do I try to win the race, or do I try to take a 4th or 5th place finish? It'll be, that'll help out in the playoff standings.
On board right now with Schilling.
We talked about a couple of weeks ago, Richard Martin denying an automatic lock into the Final Four for the 8 playoff drivers. He's up here in the 9th position, maybe looking for back-to-back. We've already had a back-to-back winner this season. That was Rodney Sullins. Won the regular season finale and then followed it up with a victory in the first playoff race, one of 3 multiple-time winners on the season. Going to have 36 drivers taking the green flag here, as a couple of laps ago, Brian Lovell brought his number 044 machine behind the wall, so he will finish 37th here this evening. Schilling's led the most laps so far, 18 in total. He'll lead a 19th here as we get ready to go back green, a third of the way through this race. And right now, we would have at least 2 more trips that we would have to make to pit road. That last one right now projected would be in the final 5 laps.
It's a big gap on that outside line. It looked like, I believe it was the 29 car. Didn't get a fairly good restart and really cut that outside line in half there. So everybody tries to line back up and get that caught up.
4, maybe 5 car length gap from Breedlove back to the battle between Metallic and Pantaleo. With the 8 of the draft, they'll suck right back up there to that top 15 drivers. Make it one big pack once again. A couple of drivers up here towards the front we haven't really talked about yet. How about Joe DeSpirito in that 24 car? 3rd in the standings coming into tonight. 12 points above the cut line when they took the green flag, solidly inside the top 10, currently in 9th. And right behind him, a driver that was involved in that caution that we had off of turn 4 that brought out the yellow for the 2nd time tonight. Tim Nofsker in that 088. Looks like that car is none the worse for wear. Certainly seems up to speed and still competitive, and gained some track position since we saw him last.
He's made a nice rebound since that early spin. Josh Metallic on the outside there, trying to lead that, whatever line that is right now. He's got the 28 of Mark Paglia, but nobody else.
That's the Metallic Paglia line. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of course, we saw Josh a little off sequence from everybody else, giving up a restart spot inside of the top 5 to pit under this most recent yellow, so trying to gain that track position back. Not a whole lot of help up there. Bobby Farrell can make his way by in that middle groove. Next Wednesday night is going to be the finale for the Rolling Thunder Gaming Aero 88 series at Walt Disney World Speedway. Seen that on FRN at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Grant Wesley, Jeff Supta, 11-point separation for the championship. Bobby Farrell looks like he's in good shape to take the Challenger Championship on Wednesday nights, and having a good run here this evening as well, trying to break into the top 10, following in the tire tracks of John Godfrey.
Is there prizes involved for winning championships? Money payouts or trophies or ribbons, or do they do anything like that?
I don't believe so. I do know that if you end up in Speedway type championships like they do on Monday and Wednesday, or Super Speedway type championships like we do here, and the bracket challenge is included in this, you end up locking yourself into the either Speedway or Super Speedway All-Star race.
Ah, right. It's like the Willy Wonka magic ticket to the All-Star race, and that's such a huge roster here at this league. It's been around so long, and that's another tough one. We talk about the competition, it's to make an All-Star race would be something else.
And they have that after every, 2 or 3 seasons?
I believe it's after every 3 seasons. And we talk about big names that miss out on the playoffs. There are a lot of big names that you look down the entry list for the open qualifying races for those All-Star races, and you think, how the heck are they here? How did they not win their way in? Just shows the level of competition.
Still focused on Metallic back there, because that's kind of where the little bit of a hornet's nest going on.
Do have some stragglers back behind this lead pack. I believe a few of these drivers did get involved in that wreck in the middle of 1 and 2 onto the back straightaway. Billy Elliser in the 26 and David Little in the 25. I don't remember Chuck McClure getting any damage in that, but he's back with these guys as well. If they stay lined up, there's a good chance that they maybe could latch on to the back of Jeff Crivello, they could latch on to the back of Cy Jones, and if they keep racing double wide, 3 wide up ahead, they may have a chance of catching back up. Just a matter of staying disciplined and keeping that draft as tight as possible. But you think back to that lap led for Chuck McClure with where he's positioned right now, last car on the lead lap, that bonus point in hindsight, if things don't change between now and the checkered flag, could be huge.
Looks like that could be by design too. McClure just running at the very back of the field right now.
And when you've got a couple of buddies too, they're way back there, but that's not really compromising their speed too much, so they're able to keep a somewhat pretty good pace at the main pack. So if something does happen, they're not right in it. They're also not too far behind it either. When you're all by yourself, it's a different story.
And I'm not a science guy. I have no idea how it works.
You don't
but we've
science?
seen so many times. Nope.
You should science more.
I should. We've seen so many times, though, where a pack of 5 or 6 can produce just as much, if not more speed at a super speedway than a pack of 12, 13, 14 drivers, because they don't have all the checkup all the loss of speed. They're able to keep the draft tight, keeping the throttle.
And that's
So
the
don't
thing
count
when
out
you
those
come out
drivers
of
just yet.
when you come out of turn 2 here, and if there's only 5 or 6 of you, you can slam each other all the way down that and not have to worry about that domino effect because it's only like 5 or 6 cars. When you, like you said, when you got a pack of 15 or 20, the last half of that pack isn't really doing much. They've got to make sure that they lift. Because right now, fastest car on the track tonight, 47.6 second lap, 200.7 mile per hour is Glenn Harris in the 8. Currently running in the 26th spot. But that's the thing, he's not the leader. It's very rare you ever see the leader get the fastest lap. It's always those guys in the middle that are getting the draft and the push.
It seems like Brian Schilling's more than willing to forego having the fastest lap of the night. Kyle, as you said, it seems like his strategy was be at the front as long as he can, make sure he wraps up that most laps led bonus point, which he is very close to procuring here. He is about 6 laps away. If he's able to lead up to that point, he will have led more than half this race, and nobody else will be able to take that bonus point from him. So that'd be 2 bonus points headed towards the total of whatever Brian Schilling's able to get here tonight. Again, as mentioned, coming into this evening, yes, he was only 6 points below the cut line, but he was 8th of the 8 playoff drivers.
I feel like I'm watching a race from the early to mid 90s right now, seeing that number 4 Kodak Chevrolet out front. Very common sight back at that time, whether it be Ernie Irvin or Sterling Marlin driving that thing. At Daytona and Talladega, that 4 car was always one of the cars you had to contend with for the win. And Brian Schilling is putting on that same kind of performance so far.
Did Marlin drive the Kodak car?
Yes, he did.
I always remember him in the Silver Bullet, the Coors.
1994 through 1997, Sterling was in that car. That's when he won his back-to-back Daytona 500s. Back at 94 and 95.
Without getting out of the car on those occasions.
Yes.
Interesting, you see the top two drivers, 2 different agendas here. Schilling trying to potentially win his way into the Final Four. Donnie Garrett right behind him is looking to advance his way into the finals of the bracket challenge. He's been up front most of the night. His competitor in the bracket challenge this evening, Brian Rawson, he's just kind of been riding towards the tail end of the pack most of this race. Maybe in part due to the connection problems he's having, but right now scoring has him outside of the top 25. 29th is where he was scored last time by.
So it's like Rodney Sollins had a brief look to the outside, was able to get back in line. We saw he had no help on that outside line. We do have a middle line forming here. Looks like Kelly Causey is leading that one. Yep.
Jones throwback on that 00. Dennis McCarthy up there. I noticed a couple of other drivers there. Sandoval, Elliott, and Jeffries. We know those 3 all came to pit road on some of those latter laps of the last caution, so they can go a little bit further on fuel, which I think is why they're on that outside line, trying to make up some track position here before a potential green flag pit stop cycle.
2 cars retired from the race now. Keith Bynum, the most recent one.
And we saw Keith go up and over on the back straightaway, so potentially had some roof damage or some aero damage that had him off the pace. So unfortunate early night for the driver of the 63. I know we talk about it all the time during the playoffs, but this is kind of case in point. Why do drivers not like to find themselves below the cut line coming into an elimination race? For this very reason, more often than not, the drivers that you are trying to build a gap against always seem to find each other in the same place in the field at the same time. Rodney Sullins, Denny Carroll, Joe DeSpirito, all up here in a clump. These drivers are trying to fight for that 4th and final playoff position. DeSpirito is 3rd, Carroll is 4th, Sullins is 7th. There's not much in it in terms of point separation. And it's so difficult when you're racing this close, bumper to bumper, door to door, to make up a ton of ground on the rest of your competition in a super speedway race.
Rodney Solins is trying to make some ground. He moved to the outside line right in front of Kelly Causey and got a nice push from him right there at the end of that last lap. See how much ground they can make up here.
Rodney, I believe, started the furthest of all the playoff drivers tonight. Done a great job of methodically working his way forward. Bernie Mobbs there to his inside line. Yeah, we're going to mention about Jeremy Jeffries eliminated from the playoffs. You can also add Bernie Mobbs and Brian Rawson into that conversation. They were also eliminated in the second playoff race. And we see that 31 prominently up here, fighting inside of the top 5. Don't count him out. That Jeff Burton throwback may have something to say about a checkered flag tonight. Got some drivers pitting this time by. Pantaleo, Breedlove, Haglia all have their hands out the window. Bobby Farrell in the 92 as well. And there's some others ahead of him too, including the race leader.
It's a lot of car. Oh, Novsker.
A little bit, yeah.
Just about to say, there's a lot of cars coming to pit road at one time. Everyone needs to be careful here.
A lot of playoff drivers, the 4, the 24. I believe I also saw the 41 of Denny Carroll.
Seeing that Nosker, a little bit of a lock up there, bump the wall a little bit. You're thinking, oh, it's not that bad. He'll be okay. But this is under green flag conditions here. So that, yeah, hopefully he's able to stick with the pack when they come back out.
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay in terms of damage. What I'd be worried about is if everybody's coming down here and planning on just taking fuel, no tires, he's going to have to take tires. He locked up those fronts too much.
Here comes Rodney Solins, who led that last lap, himself a bonus point.
Ozzy, Godfrey, Palmer, Mobbs, and Rawson all in this time. So a few more playoff contenders there. And things about to get a little dicey here as you've got the leaders catching up that just came off of pit road. Gotta do some traffic control here. Get yourself a lane down to the inside so that way you can get to pit lane as the others are trying to get themselves up to speed. Lead this pack being led by Dennis Murphy. These are all drivers, as we noted, that came to pit road on the second or third lap of caution under the last yellow. So they're able to go just a little bit further on fuel. We'll probably see most of them on pit road this time by.
Yeah, McCarthy right there being billed as the leader right now.
Oh boy, coming up on the 6 of Brian Rawson. That was almost a little hairy for these guys.
A lot of different playoff drivers with a lot of different agendas. Josh Metallic going to be the lone playoff contender coming down with this group.
Nice job, guys.
Ooh.
Oh, a little bit of a bump.
Pagula into Elliott.
Jeffrey Elliott out into the grass. Don't believe he came back up high enough for a caution to come out, and it looks like he may have actually teleported the car back to pit road to his stall.
Yeah, currently not showing Elliott on track.
That's going to be extra time on pit road for him if he did that.
Yeah, he's done for the night. Just showed up on the scoring. So he's going to join Keith Bynum and Brian Lovell in the garage area. Tough break there. He was playing a lot of alternative strategies in the early going of this one. Was doing so right there as well, going a little bit further on fuel than most of the field, but contact on pit road, and he's going to retire from the race a little north of 20 laps from the conclusion.
Brian Schilling is going to go back to the lead after he stops cycle out here as they go by the guys who are just on pit road.
Just doing a little bit of quick math here.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have to keep an eye. I don't science, I don't math. So yeah, uh-oh
No,
is
you do
the
math.
appropriate response.
You're good at the math. I do love the Seth calculator.
Yeah, because it's always a question of whether it's going to be correct or not.
Yeah. Because then right when you get all the numbers finalized, they'll be yellow or something. Or somebody will blow a tire.
Almost infallibly happens.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see here with Jeremy Jeffries, Josh Metallic, Dennis McCarthy, those drivers that came down the latest. We're borderline on the amount of fuel you're going to have to take on the final pit stop. That is, again, assuming we're going to go green the rest of the way. I believe everybody else that pitted before that last group are going to have to come down pit road, and they're going to have to take on a can of fuel. They're going to have to pit somewhere between 6 to 7 laps to go. There's no way they're going to be able to make it the rest of the way on just a half can. But that group of Jeffries, Metallic, Sandoval, McCarthy, they might be right on the window where they could come down and only have to take a half can. And while it may not seem like much, those extra 2 or 3 less seconds on pit road could be huge in track position once everything cycles with only a minuscule amount of laps left to go.
And these are guys that really have nothing to lose. They're not in the playoffs right now. So,
well, Metallic is.
Oh, Metallic, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we even saw it there under
there, but
green flag conditions. You know, you come out of the pits and you're with 3 or 4 people, and you got a pack of 15 coming, and they just walk right by you. So yeah, like you're saying, those 2-3 seconds saved could put you in a position like that, or you could go the other way. And I'm surprised too here. Like a lot of times it's 3 wide all day long, and everybody's sort of just single filing it. We can race here every single day of our lives, and you'll never see the same race twice.
That's for sure.
Sometimes it's lap 1, 3 wide, whole race, you know, and then now everybody's just sort of, they're not really bump drafting too aggressively. Lots of space out there tonight. A lot of single file.
Well, I almost wonder if that'll change here in the next couple of laps, because right now
that we said it, it will.
Well, also, we're not in the window to be able to make it the rest of the way with one more pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that in about 2 laps. So once the window is open to be able to make it the rest of the way, should a caution come out, that might be when we start to get a little bit more aggressive. I was watching that 41 of Denny Carroll there, and we talk about drivers playing a little bit of gamesmanship here to be able to get those lap-led bonus points. We saw Rodney Sullins do it. We saw Chuck McClure do it earlier on in this race. I almost wondered if Denny Carroll might have thoughts about stepping out, make move on Brian Schilling, if for no other reason than to try and see if he can snipe a lap-led bonus point.
I also just noticed, too, that Bob Dixon's not in the field this evening.
He is not. He wasn't in the field last night either. Certainly hope that things are going well with him.
Yeah.
And the Panthers are clearly at home because no Cody in the field either.
Right. Yep. Yeah, you know what? Let's check. Here's a hockey update. See if I can find a score.
We just put Mark Paglia a lap down. We saw him and Jeffrey Elliott get together on that last round of green flag pit stops.
The Predators just beat the Panthers in overtime, 2-1, Nashville in Florida. Cody. So yeah, he got an extra period out of it anyway. It's always nice when you buy a ticket for 3 periods and get 4.
Well, we mentioned coming into
tonight. He's a season ticket holder, I believe.
I think so. Yep.
Well, Cody, Obviously, with the end of that game was probably sweating bullets. Another guy that I think might be sweating bullets right now would be Grant Wesley. We mentioned not in the field here tonight, was hoping his second place finish 2 weeks ago was going to be enough to advance into the Final Four. It's not looking great mathematically for the main reason that Denny Carroll was the cut line driver. He's currently in second. Rodney Sullins, who was 7th in the standings, he's currently up here in 6th. And Brian Schilling, who came in tonight 8th in the standings, he's currently leading this race. And don't forget that with Brian, if he wins, that kind of moves the cut line. That shifts the cut line. And so what gap Grant Wesley enjoyed coming in tonight, 28 points, could be an entirely different number if the Ford takes the checkered flag and the cut line moves up. So right now, there's way too much going on, way too much movement to be able to do any calculations. You can also throw John Godfrey into that conversation, too. He's up in the top 10 and 8th. But it is not looking all that good for Grant Wesley currently with where the rest of the competition is running for him to be able to make it into the Final Four. Right now, just eyeballing it, I would say we're talking single-digit points that he is either in or out, just based on where everybody else is positioned.
Well, you said he will get provisional points for this race. How many points will that be?
Whatever pays out 38th position.
Right, it's like the last. Is it 38th? Yeah.
I believe it would be the last driver that didn't take the green flag. So I believe he would get credit for 38th place.
And how about all these guys putting on a great race tonight, and Schilling just putting on a show? Like, he's led 42 of the 51 laps. And the rest of those laps were led by Jeffrey Elliott with 3. McClure has 1, and so does Jeffries. McCarthy's got 2, and Sullins has 1. 42 laps led by Brian Schilling. It's safe to say now he's got all the bonus points for the laps anyway.
Easily has that locked up.
Yeah, you can't catch him.
It's interesting, too, because Brian Schilling has not exactly been a lap leader this season. Coming into tonight, he only had 47 laps led. And that's in, 13 completed races. So,
and he's looking to more than double that right now.
Oh, yeah.
That is.
And he doesn't have a win because I got the season 66 race winners: McClure, Carroll, Wesley, DeSpirito, McClure, Roberts, Jeffries, DeSpirito, Sullins, Wesley, and Martin. And I know that Schilling's always been in the discussion, but he got caught up in some wrecks a couple times. And
we talked about after the conclusion of the race 2 weeks ago, John Godfrey was projected outside of the cut line. Brian Schilling was the cut line driver. He just barely made it in to the top 8. So this is a statement run right here for him. And hey, you almost had me eliminated, but I'm still here, and I still want to be in the hunt for this championship. A former champion of the series and looking to add another one to his impressive resume on Thursday nights.
And just at a turn 2 back there, he claimed that low line, so they must be lining up some pit stops.
Yeah, right now, most drivers are going to be able to make it to somewhere around lap 59, lap 60 before they're going to have to come to pit lane. Now, the window will open in about 3 laps for them to be able to come down pit road and take on that can of fuel that most are absolutely going to have to take. So we may see some come as soon as that. Those that try and stretch it, we'll see try and go as far as maybe lap 60. And then that group with Jeffries, Metallic, and others, they're going to maybe try and see if they can stretch it to lap 61, lap 62, so that way they only have to take on a half can of fuel.
The green flag cycle always puts in so many cool different strategies.
And I don't want to put the hex on anybody, but we had everybody adhere to the speeding police under that first cycle of pit stops. When we get closer to the end of the race, when we get into what we call the money stop, there's always that little extra incentive to get a little bit more. And you don't want to overstep when you've been putting together such a good first 3/4 of the race.
Those NASCAR officials don't like that hot pit. They'll throw the black flag up and you're done, especially that late in the race too.
And we saw a couple of drivers have some issues coming to pit lane during the first cycle. Paglia into Jeffrey Elliott, Tim Nofsker locked him up, so it may not even be the speeding police you have to worry about, depending on who you're coming to pit lane with. Just one slight tap spinning you around, there's all your track position gone, and you're not going to have enough laps to get it back.
I think it's all about how many other cars you come down pit road with. That plays a big part in it too.
Yeah, you could get tangled up in a brouhaha, or you could just be your own worst enemy and make the mistake all by yourself.
See Greg Lovell abandoning that outside line. Now he goes to the bottom. Tim Nofsker now going to lead that outside line. You got Joe DeSpirito, Josh Metallic, Bob Seminara, and others behind them there.
We've got 22 lead lappers in this pack. One driver that is not amongst them is the 17 of Chuck McCurry. He is a long ways back, over 20 seconds behind the leader in the 26th position. Now with Grant Wesley not field tonight, he will pass Grant in points. So it may put Grant more on the hot seat than Chuck. But again, with a lot of these drivers that were below the cut line running as well as they are, like Schilling, Carroll, Sullins, Godfrey, Metallic's now up here, I'd be a little concerned if I'm the 17.
Starting to wonder, did he get damaged in one of those incidents? We saw him, Seminara coming to pit road
takers,
now.
Yep.
Along with Richard Martin, and can't tell who that is behind the 23.
Doug Hewlick. I believe we saw a few races ago Seminara do the same strategy. Come into pit lane a little bit sooner than everybody else. An untimely caution foiled his strategy play, though. We'll see if it works out this time. Certainly he's got to be hoping that we stay green. Trying something maybe a little bit different to try and capture his first win on the season. Demar looking for back-to-back wins.
Saw about 4 or 5 cars pitting together. That's what I would like to pit with, honestly. Just,
there we go. Uh-oh.
Just a handful of them.
Bernie Mobbs and Kelly Causey.
They're going to keep it off the track, though, so we're going to stay green.
Wow, Causey hit that
Here
inside
comes
wall
the
of
rest,
Tom.
and
We've
these
got
guys
some
are in
out
the
in
way.
the grass. Breedlove and Farrell.
Ooh. Looks like Spring. Is that Spring that just missed it? Who's that down there? Just missed the commitment cone, 74.
Yep, that would be Robert Spring.
Yeah. Oh, man, he was actually a full stop, but he was on the wrong side of that cone, and he decided he's got to go around. I wonder if he's got enough fuel to make it all the way around.
Don't believe any of our playoff drivers were involved in everything that occurred right there. Got some more coming to pit lane here, including Nofsker, some playoff contenders in DeSpirito, Metallic, Godfrey, and Sullins in this pack.
Looks like they all make it down here with no issues.
Again, these drivers absolutely have to take on a can of fuel. Jeremy Jeffries, Dennis McCarthy, look like they're going to go a little bit further here. They're going to have to go at least one more lap if they're going to be within the window to take only a half can of fuel on. If they pit this time by, I think they're probably going to have to take on a can of fuel. So we'll see if they've got enough to make one more circuit.
Jeffries is pitting, and so's 24.
They're pitting coming to 6 to go. It's a gamble. If you take on a half can, you're maybe planning on a caution coming out here between now and the checkered flag and just saving enough to get across the line.
Ulysses Sandoval got a penalty. Black flag up for the 096.
Coming in. Whoa!
that's
David
20.
Little locks it up.
Flex Terry Bombard.
Ravello got a piece. Breedlove locked him up as well. Spun at the pit road entry. A lot of drivers having some difficulty under braking here tonight. trying to woe it up for pit road speed.
This is all happening on that most important pit stop of the race, too.
Like you said, it's the money stop, and now Ulysses being shown the black. He's got 3 laps to serve it, otherwise he will be disqualified.
Like Brian
Ulysses
Schilling's
was caught up in one of those incidents that we saw. I think he got knocked into the grass, and that might have...
And you see where he's running right now. He would have cycled inside of the top 5. As he's side by side with Glenn Harris for what unofficially right now would have been 3rd place. So he got a good pit stop, but too good of a pit stop.
That's why it was so good. He was speeding. Like, man, he got in and out of there quick. Yeah, he did.
Only crossing the line there. Whoa.
Well, Ulysses disappeared.
Yes, he did.
Does that mean the disqualification has happened?
It could have been.
Yes, it
could
is.
very well have been the DQ, right? So he may have been hoping for a caution to come out to serve that black flag under yellow, and just basically figured I'll run as long as I can here.
That was pretty neat.
DQ on the 96.
Yeah, I was actually focused on him. He disappeared, and then I looked up at the ticker, and it says disqualified. I'm like, yeah, they don't mess around here. You instantly get vaporized if you don't serve your penalty.
That's a little rude if you ask me, but I mean,
you shall not pass. And oblivion.
Crivello just got hit with a flag as well, so he's going to have to pit if he doesn't want to suffer the same fate. Schilling cycles back to the lead here. Donnie Garrett's been his wingman pretty much the entire race. He'll slide into 2nd. Carroll's in 3rd. Greg Lovell in 4th. And how about RJ Cabana up here in the 5th position? We saw that car, halfway upside down off of turn 4 earlier on in this race?
Indeed we did. An incredible recovery there for him.
Trio of playoff drivers right behind him. DeSpirito, Sullins, Metallic. That'd be 6th through 8th. Glenn Harris, Tim Knopfsker trying to stay latched on. That'd be your top 10 right now. So 10 lead lap cars in this pack with a shot of winning this race. And we are in the point of the race that we dubbed the point of no return. Oh, we had somebody spin out on the back straightaway, it looks like. Potentially the 31 of Bernie Mobbs. I saw him slow there on the inside of 3 and 4.
Making a move for 2nd spot. I was about to say, does anybody have anything for the 4?
Look at the 4, though.
I guarantee you he has no eyes looking out the windshield right now.
2 to go. Yes.
Not enough help down there for Denny Carroll. That middle line gets the momentum. Out of turn 2. Top 2, now 3 are clear. Metallic with a little look there on the outside line.
Well, you mentioned Donnie Garrett's been the wingman for Brian Schilling. Coming to the white flag, does he stay on the back bumper or does he try to make a move for the win?
Got a couple of cars up ahead as well there in Bernie Mobbs and Terry Bombard. Do they come into play? White flag in the air. 2.66 miles to determine who the 4 drivers will be to battle for this season's championship.
Rodney Sollins with a look to the outside, but I think the lap cars got in the way there. Now he goes to the bottom. Metallic goes with him. Carroll as well.
They've got to run. Garrett and Schilling go down to block. Off of 4, Sullins goes up top. Garrett went to block him, couldn't do it.
I'm gonna run at this thing here.
Can he get enough of a push here from Metallic? Is there enough time? Is there enough track? Not quite.
No.
Half a car length short. Brian Schilling dominant performance tonight, will lead 55 of the 66 laps, and he will win his way into the Final Four, coming into tonight's elimination race as the 8th seed.
What a show, man. 54 laps led. Actually, it might be 55. Yeah, it's 55 laps led. Wow. Retired cars, Makarski, Sandoval got disqualified, Breedlove, Elliott, Bynum, and Lovell.
You could go all the way back to lap 1.
Yeah.
When Brian Schilling was able to take advantage of Robert Spring missing a shift, took the race leading the early going, the mission was clear. Get to the front, stay at the front. He did so the entire race.
I think that's the most dominant performance that I've seen since I've joined FRN. I mean, that was impressive.
As we said, he'd only led 47 laps coming into tonight, more than double that this evening. And his first win of the season, it's a big one. Because not only does he put a 1 in the season win column, he's fighting for a championship in the next 2 weeks. Question's going to be, though, and I'm going to let the admin's calculations determine it rather than speculate, who else joins him? Because I think right now, just kind of looking over the finishing results, you could make a pretty valid case visually for just about everybody else to have claimed one of those other 3 playoff positions, especially with the 4 winning here tonight. That's going to reposition where the cut line is.
Got a nice burnout going here, too.
Yeah, we might be here a while. Big win there for Rodney Sullins. Scoring says 25 1,000ths of a second. Visually, it was about half a car length over Rodney Sullins. How about that? The 2 drivers that finished first and second were the 2 drivers that came in tonight 7th and 8th in the playoff standings. So
looks like, if I count it correctly, 5 of our top 10 finishers are all playoff
really, really close as to who advances. I think Joe DeSpirito, who's going to finish in 10th, I think he would be safe. Metallic, who came in 1 point below the cut line, finishes 4th. Denny Carroll, who was the cut line driver, 1 to the good above Josh Metallic, finishes 1 spot behind him in 5th. So Good luck in trying to figure out who's got the advantage there. And then Rodney and Brian. Brian obviously did enough with the victory, but did Rodney do enough with the runner-up finish to leapfrog enough drivers to get up into the Final Four? We'll have to wait and see. John Godfrey, 11th, with who I see up above him. I don't know if that was enough for him to get up into the Final Four. And then, the big concern has got to be for Chuck McClure, who obviously looks like was off the pace for a majority of this race, going to finish 19th. Was that enough to stay above the cut line? And then the big question mark is, where did this position Grant Wesley, who didn't even take the green flag here tonight? Did those 2 have enough of a cushion with the 19th place finish and the provisional tonight to fight for a championship next week? We'll be getting those calculations here in just a moment and telling you who the unofficial Final Four are going into the next 2 races. I say unofficial because, of course, we always say come back next week for the official word, just in case there is stuff that takes place in terms of potential post-race penalties, admin reviews during the course of the week. We will have the information for you here in just a moment. Let's dial up some drivers that finish out the podium here tonight. Let's kick things off with a driver who is going to be moving on to the finals of the Bracket Challenge to face Denny Carroll next week, solidly bringing it home in 3rd place. Let's get a hold of Donnie Garrett. Hey, Nature Boy, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Well, I got a copy, guys.
Man, wild race here tonight. It kind of looked like in the early going of this race, it may come down to timing of the cautions, but then saw that long green flag run. So you guys have to execute a couple of green flag pit stops, one of them in the final 10 laps of this race. You had pretty much a top 3 car all night long. Seemed like you were the Fours wingman for 2/3, 3/4 of this race. Comes down here to the end. Looked like you were playing just about as much defense as he was. Were you pretty much committed to the 4, or were you thinking maybe about making that same move the 38 did and he just kind of beat you to it?
Yeah, I kind of committed to him. I was running for the bracket series, so I was racing the 6, and Brian Rawson's pretty tough competitor. I don't know where he was, but Brian Schilling's a great driver, and he's a good stable guy. And I figured, well, just stay with him, push him on to the whatever, and then maybe take a shot at the end. But I wasn't going to get too crazy, and I'm more worried about that bracket series. So, I figured, hey, stay behind him. I know he wants to win. He needed to win, and nobody was going to push harder than him. So, and he pulled down there that one time, which he was doing what he has to do. Don't get me wrong, he's doing what he's got to do. And he kind of left me, and then he pulled back up and grabbed me, and then we went on. And once he did that, I wasn't going to leave him because, like I say, he come back and got me. So, congratulations to him. Great win for him.
Hey, you mentioned about, we talked about as well, that you're now going to be moving on to face Denny Carroll in the finals of the bracket challenge. Now, you're going to have the daunting task of having to outperform him in 2 weeks to be able to take this thing. We saw Brian Rawson. I think he was having some connection problems. He was towards the back of the pack for a good portion of this race. Was there any point as well that you kind of were doing a little bit of a mock run against the 41, just kind of preparing yourself for the next 2 weeks?
Well, I sit there and watched him in front of me most of the night. So yeah, he was doing good. He's a pretty good little racer, and but yeah, he's going to be tough. Like I said, he's probably going to have some trouble for me to do anything, but he's just had a couple of great seasons, and so we'll give him a shot next week, see if we can get past him, and I got past him at the end there. So that's what I need to do next week. I just need to commit to stable guys. There's certain guys here that are just stable as can be, and of course the 4 is one of them. And so I figured I'd just stay with him tonight, and it worked.
You mentioned about him finding a little bit of tough luck for you to be able to capitalize on your end with the races that we've had here this season, this brand new racetrack. Has there been any single thing that you've kind of zoned in on your side that has been like at the top of your list in terms of execution, so that way you can carry this momentum into the next 2 weeks and close out that championship?
Yeah, the bottom line's pretty good if you have the right people down there. You gotta have the right people. If you're sliding all over the place off the corners, everyone behind you's got to check up, and that's why you'll hear check up low. But if you got guys that are stable, that know what they're doing down there and don't drive all over the place, that bottom line can be really fast when you get the right guys down there. So just need the right guys.
Well, Donnie, a great run for you here tonight. Some good momentum as you now get ready to fight for that Bracket Challenge Championship starting next week. Congratulations on the solid 3rd place performance here tonight. Top 5 all night long. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Thank you guys, and congratulations on Brian there, and for getting that win. And we look forward to going after Denny here the next couple of weeks, and good luck to him, and see if we can't get us the championship for that. But we'll get out the way and let the next people come on up.
Well, that's Donnie Garrett. Brings it home 3rd place here tonight. That podium puts him in the finals for the season 66 Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Bracket Championship. Best of luck in these next 2 weeks, Donnie.
Woo!
Nice little slow Ric Flair woo right there from the Nature Boy. He is, I believe, going to be...
It's going to be disappointing if we didn't get at least one of those.
That's right. Absolutely. It's a signature here whenever we have him up in the booth. It'll be interesting to see. I think this is going to put him 13th in the standings, highest driver not in the playoffs. He's put together a pretty solid season, albeit, unfortunately, not battling for the overall championship, but he will fight for the Bracket Challenge Championship against Denny Carroll starting next week. Let's see if we can get a hold of the driver that brought it home 2nd place here tonight. Let's dial up Rodney Sullins. Hey, Rodney, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
What's happening, fellas?
Man, I'll tell you what. You had to work for this podium finish here tonight. I believe that you, based off the random qualifying draw, started the furthest back of the Elite 8, rolled off the grid from the 31st position. Didn't seem to take you very long to get up there to the front, and then almost pulled off the victory here. Now, we obviously have to wait for the calculations to come in, but do you feel like you did enough to get yourself into that Final Four?
Short answer, no. Well, I mean, I'm 2 points out as of right now. Looks like there's 5 guys that are going to be moving on. There's a tie for 4th, of course, barring penalties, as we always know. But as of right now, I am 2 points out of being tied with the 4th and 5th place guys.
We talked about how tight the points always seem to be, whether it's during the regular season, in the playoffs, specifically in these elimination races. How tough does that make the job of the driver when we're at a super speedway where things are so close, and most oftentimes you end up finding yourself in the same vicinity as the guys that you're trying to battle in the standings?
Yes, I was watching that 4-car just lead and lead and lead, knowing that we came in here, he was 8th, I was 7th. I've got nobody to blame but myself. I shot myself in the foot last week and sped that last pit stop and ruined my night. So I've got nobody to blame but myself. So coming up 2 points short kind of hurts. And then, yeah, I thought if I could get by Brian, you know, maybe he'd be good enough to get in and I could win and get in. I knew he had led the most laps. Probably dang near the whole race, seemed like. And then I looked around and Denny's there. I'm thinking about somebody pushing me, and I look up, and of all people, it's Josh. So I'm like, I really needed somebody else to be pushing me. I thank you, Josh, for pushing. But of all people, it was him. So I can't complain. You know, it's been fun. I did all I can do, but obviously, again, shooting myself in the foot last week. But Brian Schilling ran a great race. All the guys did that needed to get in. But it was fun. Had a good time. Middle of it was a little boring, I'm sure, for you guys. A lot of single file, but I think a lot of us were just not wanting to, get ourselves in a position to finish, bad, if you will. So it's good. I see Seth's falling out. So Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's like with Seth having some technical issues right now. Hopefully he's able to get back in here, but I guess we'll just turn it over to you for thank you, sponsors, and shout outs.
Yeah, man. Well, of course, Blaine, Tarnation TV. Blaine, it's good to see you doing this. I hope you're enjoying it.
Oh, man, it's a riot. Thanks for bringing us in.
Oh, man, yeah. I love it. I love watching it. Of course, with Seth and Kyle and Michael when he's here with Flatout Racing Network. Those guys do a great job. Blaine, you're lucky to have those guys commentating, and those guys are lucky to have you on doing what you do with the video side of it. I think it's a great combination. So Tarnation TV and Flatout Racing Network, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Rolling Thunder Gaming, this is one of the greatest places to race at. These fields that we have on Thursdays and the type of racing that we have here, it's unbelievable. Sean Prime, Jeremy and Sheck and Josh and all the guys here. Of course, we're missing Bones. I really hate missing the Final Four because I'm just be totally straightforward with you. I was wanting to win this season so bad so I could dedicate it to Bones. Miss him. I really wanted to win it. But either way, it's not going to happen. But we miss Bones. Josh and Tim, my co-admins here. I'm the co. They're the head guys. I'm the co-guy. Appreciate them still letting me be here. My teammates, I couldn't do anything without them. Redline Performance Motorsports. Again, Schilling, great job. Joe, Chuck, Josh, Denny, and Schilling. I think that's going to be a great Final Five to watch if it stays that way. Black Rifle Coffee, Havana Brisa, Wickers. Dad, I know you weren't able to watch it live. You'll be watching it tomorrow. You and Sandra, hope y'all kind of feel a little bit better. But I appreciate you. Love you. And I'll see you next week, fellas. I'll be here.
Thanks, Roddy. Congratulations on second place.
Yeah, man, it's fun.
So I don't have the power to move anybody on TeamSpeak. Do you have?
Yeah, neither do I.
Oh, hey,
I
Rodney,
can.
could you grab?
Who you
Thank
want? Oh, Schilling.
Yes.
Okay. All right,
There he
guys.
is.
Thank you. Have a good night. There's Brian.
Thanks, Roddy.
Down here in victory lane now with Brian Schilling. And Brian, that was an absolutely dominant performance. I don't think I've ever seen anybody dominate like that in this series as long as I've been calling these races. You drew the second qualifying spot, which just looked like your strategy. Get up front, stay up front.
Oh, for sure. I needed every point that I could get, leading most laps, and leading a lap first. Then I knew try to get most laps and keep as many people close to me in points from leading a lap.
See, it looked pretty easy all night. I'm sure it wasn't, but how worried were you on that last lap and you saw the 38 and others get a run on you like that?
Oh, I was very worried because I knew the 41, he didn't necessarily want to see me win. Rodney was trying to get in because he didn't want to see me win. Josh knew if I won, that was going to be tough for him in the points. So, everybody up there, it's like, it was just going to be a free-for-all. And, I have to definitely thank Donnie Garrett because he stuck with me. If he didn't stick with me, I wouldn't have won that race. Big thank you to Donnie for that. And the same thing with Greg Lavelle. He was big help on that as well.
Yeah, we noticed with those guys, too, we're always waiting for a big move in the last couple laps. Guys were trying to start a second line. It wasn't really coming together. And then, Rodney had a good run. He needed another couple 100 feet to get you, but, ended up making almost a photo finish. But, yeah, it's always great trying to anticipate what these guys are going to do because they stick with you for the whole race. But that last lap, there's no guarantees, right?
Oh, for sure. That's one of those you don't. I was hoping Donnie stayed with me for sure. We were, I was doing everything I could earlier in the race to help him out because he's a good pusher. And I've worked with him plenty in the past, and I knew I'm comfortable around him. So it's like having him near me. It's like, okay, I can hunker down, run a good race, and lead some laps, and see where the end gets me.
It looks like Seth Cole's back. Hey, buddy, you want to take over the interview? We're just talking to the winner here.
Yeah, my internet took a heck of a time to drop, but yeah, Brian, we ended up seeing that as soon as you got to the front, it seemed like that was the strategy. Going back to a couple of weeks ago, well, actually 3 weeks ago now, in that last elimination race, you just barely were able to point your way in. Was this a statement win here tonight? Was this a statement performance that, hey, you almost got rid of me for the championship a few weeks ago, but I'm definitely here to stay. Look out for me in these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to win a race that wasn't fuel mileage.
Fair enough.
But I am exhausted, to say the least. The amount of concentration just to keep the line, keep the car straight, keep it from weaving, and just making sure the guys behind me had a good car to hit. So I'm just mentally fried and physically fried right now.
Well, man, you get the opportunity here to get a little bit of rest here, get a week before you go back at it, chance to fight for the championship. Congratulations on the job well done here tonight. Dominating performance for this number 4 throwback machine. And before we let you get back to your celebration, floor is yours for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Thank you, Rodney, for the hot rod. I can't go wrong with Kodak car at a super speedway. Sucks you just missed out on it. Would love to race you for a championship. Big thank you to Donnie Garrett. Win would not have happened without him. And if you need your floors done in the Virginia area, Ultimate Garage Floors. free sponsor plug, no charge. Greg Lavelle, thank you too. And, thank you, Sean Prime, Jeremy Jeffries, Josh, Tim, Rodney, Jason, Dante, Jeff Supta, Ron. I'm missing somebody. I know I am. I apologize. And the first I feel like I've gotten a chance to put this one out there for David Cannon, Wiley, and Mike Scott. This one's for you guys.
Well, Brian, congratulations on getting the victory here tonight, advancing into the Final Four, having a shot for the championship starting next week. Go get some well-deserved rest, and we'll see you go back at it in a week's time.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Brian Schilling going to advance his way.
Thank you.
Yes, congrats.
Thanks.
Brian's going to advance his way into the Final Five. I gave us the precursor beginning of this race because I know how these points work, and we usually end up seeing it's not unusual to see these ties. Said we'd have at least 4 that were going to be bound for the championship. Well, it's going to be 5 of them. DeSpirito going to lock himself in on points. Chuck McClure was able to have enough to lock his way in. DeSpirito was +7. McClure was +5. Brian Schilling, who we just talked to, he locked himself in via a win, but if it had come down to points, if it wasn't a win in your in system, he was only in by 2. And then Josh Metallic, Denny Carroll finished 1 position behind the other. They tied for the final 4th position, so both will advance into the championship battle. Sullins will end up just a couple points short in 6th. John Godfrey was 7th, and Grant Wesley with the provisional will end up 8th. Both those drivers were 18 points back from the points lead, 11 points below the cut line. So Sullins, Godfrey, Wesley, unfortunately, will not be battling for the title. But I think one of the things that I love our ability to be able to do the post-race interviews is for people that tune into these broadcasts, when they see drivers out there racing on a sim, on a video game, you take for granted the mental and physical fatigue that comes about with these type of races. You could go back, replay that interview with Brian Schilling. You can hear it in his voice. The stress that he was going through those final couple of laps to close this thing out, and then the decompression at the end of it, just total exhaustion. When these guys win, they work for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I don't like it when I hear a lot of fans, of racing say, well, anybody can win on a super speedway. A super speedway, it's easy to win at. No, it's not. It may not be physically demanding, but it is definitely mentally draining. All of us know what that feels like. We've all raced super speedways on, in our 2003 and other games. So, yeah, I know exactly how he feels right there.
Going to be interesting to see here now. I think coming into these first 2 rounds of the playoffs, mission was pretty clear. Win the first race if you can to lock yourself into the next round, and then rely on points in the second race, the elimination races, to make sure you're above that cut line. There's no win in your in system anymore. We're into the final round of the playoffs. Granted, it's 2 races, but you could win one week, DNF the following week, and you're not the champion. It's going to come down to consistency now between these next 2 races. Is there anybody of these final 5 that you see that maybe has a slight advantage over the other 4 in terms of consistency here since the playoffs began?
And I'd say Denny Carroll's been extremely consistent. So I think if you're looking at it from a consistency standpoint, I think he'd be one of the favorites. But honestly, I really don't know how you can sit here and pick a favorite of these 5. I mean, we saw most of them up there in contention for the win tonight to begin with. So, it's any of those 4 wouldn't surprise me to see win.
And with how unpredictable super speedway racing is, whether it's on the racing surface or as we've seen on pit road, you cannot count any of these guys out. You mentioned Denny Carroll. He's going to be looking to play ultimate underdog, as he's the only driver in this final 5 that has not formally won a championship here on Thursday night. For DeSpirito, McClure, Schilling, and Metallic, they will be looking to add to their championship trophy collection. It's going to be a lot of fun to follow here in these final 2 weeks to see who's going to claim the championship, to also follow the Denny Carroll, Donnie Garrett battle in either the upcoming 1 or 2 weeks here for the bracket challenge. Really looking forward to it. An exciting race again here tonight. These elimination races have not disappointed in determining our final 8 and now our final 5 for the championship. Blaine, appreciate you covering for me there on the interviews. At least my internet decided to drop during the conclusion of the race and not in the middle of the race. So that at least I guess was a little bit of a blessing there. But appreciate covering for me on that, with me having my issues on my end. We thank everybody for tuning into our coverage here tonight. Join us right back here, same time, same station, if you will, on FRN and Tarnation TV. We're going to be covering the final round of the playoffs here for season 66 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. Congratulations to Brian Schilling on the victory. He, DeSpirito, McClure, Metallic, and Carroll go to battle next week to see who's going to claim the championship trophy. For Blaine Dallin, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next Thursday night as season 66 of the Talladega Challenge Series continues on here on Tarnation TV and the Flatout Racing Network.